All right, Blue Jays fans, we need to talk, because what happened this week should have every single one of us furious. Saturday night, Toronto took down the New York Yankees 4-1 at the Rogers Center. On paper, that's a great result. A division rival, beaten on our own turf. But nobody in that ballpark was celebrating the way we should have been. Because the biggest story of the weekend wasn't the scoreboard. It was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sitting out with concussion. Let's rewind Friday night. Toronto is battling the Yankees. The game is tight, and Vladdy is doing what Vladdy does, hustling on the bases. He's coming around near third when George Lombard Jr., the Yankees shortstop, collides with him on a base-running play. And in that collision, Vlad takes a knee directly to the head. Think about that for a second. Our franchise player, the heart of this lineup, the guy who single-handedly carried this offense through stretches of this season, down on the field after getting kneed in the skull during a game that, in the grand scheme of a 162-game season, is just one of dozens. Toronto still won that game Friday night, but the win felt hollow the moment we found out Vlad wasn't coming back. And then Saturday, before first pitch, the news dropped that we all kind of knew was coming. Guerrero was placed on a 7-day concussion injured list. 7 days. That's the minimum for a concussion protocol in this league. And honestly, I don't even trust that number. Concussions don't work on a calendar. They work on how a brain heals. And no two brains heal the same way. So when I hear 7-day IL, I'm not relieved. I'm cautious. Because that number is a formality, not a promise. After Saturday's win, manager John Schneider stood in front of reporters and gave what honestly felt like one of the more honest, unscripted answers we've heard from this coaching staff all year. He said Vlad had been going through testing and that he was feeling, in Schneider's words, a little worse than he did on Friday, which, according to Schneider, is actually expected with this kind of injury. He said he's hoping for a minimal stay on the IL. Now I want to break that down for a second, because as fans we need to actually understand what feeling worse the next day means with a head injury. It's not unusual. Symptoms from a concussion can build for 24 to 48 hours before they start to fade. So Schneider wasn't panicking when he said that. He was being realistic. But realistic isn't the same as comforting. Not when it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. we're talking about. And look, I'm not here to just deliver you a script off a press release. I'm a fan, same as you, and I've got some things to say about this. First, this is exactly why base-running collisions like this need more attention from the league. We talk all the time about protecting pitchers, protecting catchers at the plate, protecting middle infielders from takeout slides. But here we are again, watching a superstar go down from incidental contact on the base paths, and nothing changes. Vlad wasn't doing anything reckless. He was running hard, the way you're supposed to, and he still ended up with a knee to the head. At some point, baseball has to look at plays like this the same way they look at home plate collisions a decade ago, because the risk to these guys' brains is not something you can just shrug off as part of the game. Second, and I say this as someone who has watched every single one of Vlad's at-bats this season, this team does not function the same way without him in that lineup. He's not just a bat. He's the anchor. Pitchers change their whole approach to the rest of our order because of where Vlad hits. You take him out, and suddenly guys who were seeing better pitches all year are getting nibbled at, are getting pitched around less carefully because the pressure isn't there behind them. So even a short absence has ripple effects that go way beyond one first baseman missing games. And third, I want to give real credit to the front office here, because they didn't waste any time reacting. To fill that roster spot, Toronto selected the contract of outfielder Daz Cameron, bringing him up to the big league roster. And to make room on the 40-man roster, the club designated right-handed pitcher Lazaro Estrada for assignment. That's the unglamorous side of this business that fans don't always think about. Every time a star goes down, there's a domino effect of transactions happening behind the scenes just to keep the roster legal and functional. Cameron gets an opportunity now that nobody wanted him to get this way. And Estrada's future with the organization is suddenly uncertain, all because of one violent, unfortunate collision on a Friday night in Toronto. So where does this leave us as Blue Jays fans heading into the next week? Honestly, in a holding pattern. We watch the injury reports. We watch how Vlad responds to testing. We hope minimal, actually means minimal, and that this doesn't turn into one of those lingering concussion situations we've unfortunately seen wreck careers and seasons for other players around the league. But here's what I know for certain. This team is more talented, deeper, and more resilient than it's been in years. Guys like Daz Cameron are going to get a shot to step up. The bullpen and rotation are going to have to find a way to keep grinding out wins, even with our best hitter sidelined. And when Vlad does come back, and he will come back, I expect him to come back angry, focused, and ready to remind the entire American League East exactly why this offense runs through him. Now I want to hear from you. Are you as worried about this concussion timeline as I am? Or do you think 7 days is going to be enough? Do you think baseball needs to crack down harder on these base-running collisions before it takes something worse than a concussion to force a rule change? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And this kind of conversation is exactly what keeps this community strong. And if you're a real Blue Jays fan, if you bleed blue and want every update on Vladdy's recovery, on the roster moves, on everything happening with this team, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button before you scroll away. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know, and it costs you nothing. And while you're at it, drop a comment, even just one word, because the algorithm loves engagement, and engagement is what lets us keep making videos exactly like this one. We'll be back with more updates the second there's real news on Vlad's condition. So stay tuned, keep that notification bell in mind, and let's go Blue Jays. We need him back, and we need him back healthy.